I'm gonna go right on it right away. There we go. Why are you not recording?
We're working on trying to figure out when we need that number for the
discussion. Paul, I think you have something tonight. You want to pull, right? Just to make it official, tell us which ones we're going to be pulling.
Okay, I want to pull, so this is under paragraph 3, 7,000 students and policies.
Yes.
Let's pull 7110, 7611.
Would you repeat those just for
Sure, 7110, comprehensive student attendance, and 7611, children with disabilities.
Thank you. Also, please add to your agenda tonight, we do have one resolution that's on the green sheet, a late edition, and that will be on page 8, at the, after the resolution on the aquatics program, and before the board member request comments and discussion. So it's really a green sheet there. So with those deletions and one addition, is there any other discussion with the agenda? Then all in favor of approving the agenda? The motion is carried. We move right on to our presentations, and our first presentation tonight is bittersweet. Mr. Pullen, would you want to?
Sure, Mrs. Collier, thank you. With us tonight we have Dr. Vikma Ramos, Wayne Finger Lake Superintendent of Schools. It's a great honor for me to have her here tonight for our last board meeting of the year. It is bittersweet as she is announced she is retiring on June 30th. I think she's been such a tremendous asset to our region, to the field of education, for the initiative she's brought forth for so many students and so many staff, just to be steadfast in her principles and her beliefs. And many times, the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that have been brought forth by her don't target one single population. She targets all of them. There's something to be said about diversity being the only thing that we all have in common. But she's been such a strong proponent of rural schools and benefits for rural school education. And for me personally, what a great mentor, friend, and just a leader. And I know for North Rose-Wolcott, while she served as the interim superintendent here, it was a short time, but she was very steadfast in what she expected. She was very principled and very clear on trying to corral a lot of things in a short amount of time. So on the district's behalf and on the Board of Education's behalf, we would just like to say thank you for your many years of service to our students, to our region, and to our district in particular. It is bittersweet, but we know that you're only a phone call away if we need you. We will let you have at least July off before we start calling. We're very proud of our students. We're very proud of our community. And tonight, as
While Vicki is coming up, we want to say thank you in particular. Vicki stepped in as interim superintendent for us when we needed one, in addition to all her OCCs. She helped us through a superintendent's search, and she led us with great skill. And she found us Mr. Pullen, which we're very grateful for. And she's led us in workshops to make us a better board. So Vicki, we specifically say thank you, and we just think you're amazing.
Oh, thank you. You know what, I just been so blessed, you know, it's been 41 years in education and I get to lead, still saying, John, I'm gonna say like you did, right? When you tell me I still like coming to work, it just happened, right? I still love coming to work, it's just time. You know, sometimes you just say it's time to give back time to my family, who has sacrificed so much, right? Because when we're educators, it never stops. I just want to leave with you, you know, you were one of the first boards that truly embraced a process, that challenged the process and made me a better person. So thank you for that. And thank you for allowing me to be able to just be honest with you. I mean, we just truly did create a community of trust when at the beginning that didn't exist at all. And thank you for that. I want you to always remember that, you know, pearls in the ocean can come in many different colors, but they're gorgeous, right? And so those are your students. Never forget that at the beginning you might not see their beauty, but it's your job to make sure that everybody recognizes that there is beauty in every single girl, and they're not exactly alike either. You have to defend those students, and boards are the links of that necklace, and your superintendent is the class. Never forget that together you must keep it one beautiful one. And thank you for letting me just be part of your family for all this time. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Are you loving it? I'm so happy for you.
I love it. I love it. And I love it. Super cool.
Yes, so from one fantastic female leader to another fantastic female leader, it's an honor and a pleasure to introduce Jenna Bullard to you tonight. She's a senior, so you know we start our year with a senior representative, and it's a great way to end our year with a senior representative. This young lady is extremely talented, and if you were to look at her transcripts to see, she's embraced fully the arts. You know, she's very actively involved in our choir. She's actively involved in digital photo classes. She's got a rigorous schedule with some Gemini coursework in there. Just an extremely talented young lady. So she's going to come up and share some experiences with her. I told her to be careful that this is a very high-pressure situation, and that, you know, that if the board does not smile at her, that's okay. I did joke with her to say, just relax. The board loves hearing from our student body, and just to embrace it, and then recognize that in a few short weeks she'll be crossing the stage and seeing each and every one of you there. So, Jenna, why don't you come on up and tell the board what's been happening at the high school, okay?
I got a little checking my notes. So I was homeschooled my entire life up until 7th grade, and it was really challenging to transition, but it opened a lot of doors to new opportunities, and I got to get involved a lot in volleyball and softball and tennis and golf, and I was team captain 9th and 10th grade in volleyball. I also was in a lot of clubs and activities. Like you were saying, I was in the choir and Interact, NHS, and art club, and also also in the musical for 2 years. I've been awarded the Elmira Key Scholarship for $80,000, and also the Student of the Year Award for Rotary Club. I don't know what else to say, but I don't know what else to say.
So how's the end of the year been going for you so far?
It's been going pretty good.
Were you able to go to Dairy Lane a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I wasn't very late.
How was the bus ride up there?
It was fun, yeah.
And did you guys fall asleep on the ride home?
I almost did. I got close, but I didn't.
You toughed it through?
Yeah.
Okay.
What will your plans be for next year?
I'll be going to Elmira College for Human Services. So, yeah, it's something I've always been interested in, so that's what I'm going to pursue. So yeah,
Anyone else? Bob?
What'll be your biggest memory of North Rose-Wolcott school?
probably the school dances, because it was a lot of fun. Like when everybody got together, like there was no judgment at all. But I like dances a lot. I wish that we got to do more field trips and more activities, because like I miss having forums. That was a lot of fun, and yeah, I wish we would bring that back.
Is there anything you would recommend that the board focus on or improve in your high school years?
I would definitely say just like doing more fun things, like more field trips or stuff, stuff like that, like stuff to like get outside and do more fun things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Get out of school and
Yeah, do something fun instead of like just working on school.
obviously you want us to keep pressure on the arts program and not
Yes.
let it drop at all. or-
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate you coming to the meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we all wish you very, very much success in the future. Wish
Thank you.
well.
Thank you.
And don't forget your North Rose-Wolcott days.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
You should stop back at future board meetings and get something.
I would like to do that,
That
yeah.
would be-
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Hey, well,
Thank you.
up to the podium. Lisa Brower, Rena Lopez, Fred Prince, and Ben Stock, who will be presenting their end of the year update to the board.
She turned it.
It's not clicking.
It's turned off.
We got to be our technology director here. So good evening, Board of Education members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to allow us time this evening to highlight some of the accomplishments as we wrap up the year in each of our individual departments. So the work we do mostly behind the scenes
Oh, that's good.
supports the district's mission and vision and really enhances the experience for our students. So joining me tonight are Rita Lopez, Lisa Brower, and Ben Stopka. So last year, we started our summer student worker program. We created opportunities for up to 9 students. Last year, we had 7 involved in the program. We're happy to be able to offer it again. We talked about this a little bit in January when I presented the last time. To date, we have 5 applicants who have applied for the summer. We hope to get up to 9. Ms. Vasali at the high school is working very hard with us to try and recruit more students, but we have 5 students who are really excited to join us for the summer. And we're also going to be hiring 3 students to work in our summer program in the building. And this is through Lori Elliott's program. And once again, these are all grant-funded positions. We're very happy to offer this opportunity to our students. Next slide. So back in January, when I presented about the school volunteers, after a 2-year hiatus, we revamped the policy, the forms, the procedures. We sort of streamlined it. In January, we had 21 approved volunteers. And we know that school volunteers represent important partnerships that connect families and communities to the school. So as of tonight, that number has grown to 59, which I believe shows a significant, definitely interest from our community. They're excited, they want to be in our schools, and it seems like every week, even leading up to this last month of school, we were getting applications like regularly, every week.
Lisa, are you using the clicker or am I clicking?
Why don't you give it a try?
So recruitment events, this particular event, it was a career and internship fair at SUNY Oswego. Sarah and I represented the school. There were 91 different employers, so it was very crowded in the gym up at Oswego. This was not a teacher recruitment event, so to speak. I wanted to get in there because SUNY Oswego is a school that I would like to form more connections with due to its proximity to us. It's a teaching school. So we had several students stop by the table, and we were the only school that was there. And we did talk to a lot of history majors, but unfortunately we're looking to hire a history major right now. But like I said, making those connections, so a lot of these students get opportunities in Oswego City School District. So I talked to them about having an opportunity to get some experience in a rural school. So just seeing it from a different lens, and I'm really looking forward to making some connections there, possibly with internships and doing a lot more with SUNY Oswego. Next slide. So on April 14th, we participated in the teacher recruitment event at Harris Beach. We started that last school year. It grew this year to 9 schools, so we added 3 this year. We had 53 participants sign up. That number is up from the prior year. Sarah and I interviewed several candidates, so the kind of format there is we do a meet and greet. Students sign up if they want information about our school. They stop by, they visit us, we talk to them, we set an appointment, and we do interviews right there. So it's sort of like a pre-screening. We invited 6 of those candidates that we talked to that had the skills and the background that we were looking for to apply. Not all of them did. There's a lot of competition for teachers right now. But as of this date, we've already hired 1 candidate who's going to be working for us at the middle school. One that Sarah and I were very excited about. So back in, it was November or December, I started talking to Amanda about creating a recruitment video. So we kind of talked through what the script would be, and I will tell you, all the technical things that happen, that's all Amanda. So it's just, I kind of just guided the process. But when looking to attract people here, we know we're challenged geographically, but if we can just get people here, we know that they're going to love it. And who better to tell our story than our own people? So the product that we put out, we were able to, and I included a copy, that's the business card that we hand out at recruiting events. We were able to put the QR code on there, so it goes right to the video. That video is on our website, and it's also on YouTube. If you haven't had a chance to view it, I would encourage you to do so. It's really our, and we didn't just include teachers or administrators, we included cleaners, bus drivers, so we took a wide range of employees, and I think they really do a good job. It's like showing our mission and vision. The story is being told by our own people. So positions filled back in January, we were looking at a total of 79 positions. That has grown currently to 111. So we had a very busy year. We've brought in a lot of people. We've lost people. It ebbs and flows. But all of these positions, the interviews, getting people in, the onboarding, all this to support our programs that we have in schools. Next slide. And current open positions, these are the positions that we are targeting going into the summer that we need to fill for next year. There are some key positions on that list and ones that are hard to fill, but I'm sure that we will be successful.
All right, so as far as our goals that we met within the food service department this year, within our partnerships, we continue to work with the athletics department, Mark Blankenberg, and growing our recognition of our athletes. So this year we did 3 breakfasts for our tennis team, our wrestling team, and our baseball team. And we rewarded them for breakfast for getting their league championships. And then we also had, the other night, we had our athletic awards banquet. And so far the feedback has been very great. And then also we worked with building administrators and the technology to test out our new student ID cards. And so far they've been successful within the elementary building, being able to scan them to use for the next school year. And then students also had a chance to taste a variety of products that I brought in from vendors. And so the bottom picture you see in the slide, this is Schwann's Food Service. So our students got to taste a whole grain fried rice and wonton wrappers that were pork filled. So the feedback was great with it, and so I'm looking forward to be putting those on the menu for next year. And so within equity, our staff menus have been prepared, and starting at the end of the summer, we're going to be training and implementing those within each one of the buildings, so that way staff is able to get the same kind of meal that our students would get. And then, like I said, Schwann's Food Service and also Nardone's, which is a pizza company, they also provided samples for us to taste. And so we tested those up against some of our other pizza products, but our students actually like our regular pizza products compared to those. And then our standardized menus that were launched at the beginning of the year, where each building had the same exact menu for the entire year, so all students were getting the same lunch. So if a parent had a 3rd grader and an 8th grader, they knew that on that day it was hamburger day, and it actually was perceived very well. All right, and as far as academic, we have set and made some connections with some of the manufacturers that make K-12 products. And we've set a calendar to be able to train the staff and get them to try new products also for the upcoming year. And then all of our lead positions within each one of the buildings within the food service department have currently been enrolled in their Serve Safe exam to focus on the safety and health of food. And they will have that exam completed by July. And then our training handbooks for all positions, so that way we have consistency in between each kitchen, so that way if a staff member has to go cover into another building, they all know exactly what they should be doing in exactly each and every position. And for financial, currently to date, the goal at the beginning of the year when I presented in January was to utilize 80% of our commodity funds from the entitlement. We are actually at 80.8%. And then within the diverted funds of almost $8,000 that allotted students through our fresh fruits and vegetables program to enjoy like the fresh fruits and vegetables 60% of the time throughout the year, except for when we were moving to grapes, when we would use like canned. And due to moving to more fresh fruits and vegetables, our participation had actually went up almost 12% this year. So, and the parent feedback has been really great as well. And then through networking with the food service directors within the Wayne County region and the Finger Lakes region, we've actually gotten together and found other smaller vendors that have started to produce more New York State products. So that way, moving forward, we can serve more of New York State local products, so that way the 30% initiative can be implemented to also get the additional 30% reimbursement.
So, good evening. This has been a busy year for technology as we continue to communicate, collaborate with other departments in the implementation of systems and processes. We have implemented and are currently piloting with some students the new student ID cards. These cards function with the cafeteria, library, and most importantly, will allow for bus attendance. We have continued school tool training for secretaries' office staff during Superintendent's Conference Day. These have been very beneficial and have been very well received by the staff. As part of the district's focus on safety, we have implemented the next level of security software, CLPS. This software is a multifaceted approach to safety, which includes the TAP app, threat assessments, and emergency management planning. We continue to implement new technology and replace old to bring all the buildings up to date. We have begun the process of implementing the Informacast speakers system at the elementary school. This system is already in place at the high school and middle school and will allow for unification throughout the district during lockdown and emergency notifications. We have also begun the process of implementing new control panels for the lockdown system and emergency notifications. This will align all the schools with the same technology. The technology department is expanding its awareness of SEF and how it relates to our commitment to service for students and staff. In doing this, we have been working with the building admins, the SPOA coordinator, and public relations to implement the new CLIPS software. We have an ongoing dialogue in setting up and implementing the new threat assessment component and emergency management plan. So this has been a coordinated effort to enter the data and provide continuity for the district. The tech department has implemented and continues to provide staff cybersecurity training through the Know Before program. This has been very useful in addressing the increase in spam and phishing emails. Another tool for increased security has been the implementation of multi-factor authentication for staff. We believe that this is an important step in maintaining our network security. We continue to support students and staff in the use of equipment and new technology. We have collaborated with the middle school for their new technology program, and were able to purchase new equipment, including 6 3D printers and a set of classroom Chromebooks. The technicians have also been busy with supporting the buildings with AV setups, computer-based testing, and instructing on the use of some of the new equipment. We are also planning the end-of-the-year collection of storage and of equipment and storage. Finally, we continue to focus to plan responsibly and be intentional with our purchases. Following our replacement plan, we have utilized grant money to purchase new iPads for UPK. We have also purchased some new Chromebooks and will be looking to upgrade our voicemail server. We have also replaced CAD workstations and were able to utilize older CAD workstations in another classroom.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you. Thank you for your time tonight. From the Maintenance and Operations Department, we're continuing to build partnerships and really focus on creating a healthy environment for our students and our community when they come onto our campus. We're actively pursuing a very rigorous schedule of maintenance, repair, and paint in our learning environments and a lot of our common areas. And we continue to reach out and build strong relationships with local businesses. So we're getting the investment of our community and our school, and we can really see the results of those connections that are going to come to fruition. I'm very happy to say at the end of the school year. In terms of equity, we continue to develop an environment where diversity and equity is supported through our programs like leadership and leadership. Throughout the department, we try to demonstrate support for individual voice to let people's strengths really rise and come up to the surface, so that we can develop, that passion, that commitment, that sense of team that we need, where it's a shared sense of leadership and there's a shared sense of ownership in all the projects that we set out to do for our students every day. That has really manifested in some very positive communication channels opening up, not just within our team, but as Lisa mentioned, and Rita mentioned, just a very collaborative approach across the director's department, working closely within each of our departments to make sure that we're putting the best product possible out for our community and for our students. So here's a couple of our examples that I wanted to share. We went with a red, white, and blue theme for Memorial Day at the elementary school. The flowers in that particular photo came from Wayside Gardens, which I'm happy to say we just recently added in as a vendor. Just one of those examples of a local business that we're now connecting with. And the baseball diamond, Mr. Statsky, we've been in close communication about that this year, but we were very proud of that. We put a lot of work into that this year. There's more work to come, but we love having an opportunity to have something out there for our teams and for our community to see and to take pride in our athletics program as well. But in addition to those, we are currently in the process of getting our track resurfaced at the high school campus. They're actually there today putting the stripes down on it. We're actually restriping, but really just bringing the whole area of the campus back alive. And again, instilling that sense of pride in our athletics program and giving the community something that they can be proud of. And lo and behold, our new fuel system is finally in place. When I first came and spoke with you last year, the first time, we were right in the process of trying to sort this all out. And again, we worked with the Valley Brothers on this project. They were tremendously helpful and informative and wonderful to work with right here in our community. Again, that shared sense of investment in our campus and our kids and in our finances. So it was wonderful to work with them. The social emotional, again, we just continue to improve that connection and communication with our students and our staff. Our staff, I believe Mr. Prince mentioned, we're kind of behind the scenes. We're everywhere and we're nowhere simultaneously. So just making sure that we're really building those connections with people and our staff, our teachers, our families, the people we greet at the door, the people we see dropping our students off in the morning, in every single place, just again, putting that affirmative leadership out there, building that sense of team, so that we're all looking out for every student's best interest. On the right, that's the A team. That's our maintenance crew. That's what we refer to them as. These are the guys in Brielle. These are the team. I shouldn't say guys, but this is the team that really works their tail off, night and day, making sure that every day when our students arrive here, the lights are on, the building's warm, and it's ready to go. Our learning environments are ready for kids to walk in the door and be successful. That's our middle school team on the left. background. Okay. So from an academic standpoint, we're continuing to integrate our department as much as we can into programming for students. We're working collaboratively with the Geotech program. This was year one for Geotech. It really had come a long way in year one of that program. So we worked with them to procure the tools, how to get that program established, working closely with Mr. Giri. I stopped in a few times, visited with the kids, many of those students I know from middle school, so it's very nice to see them extend and really, starting to see a sense of value in working with their hands and producing things by themselves. Actually, on the bottom right, that's the arbor that they recently built for Marshall Park. So we're really getting tangible things out in our community that are being created by our kids in our school. So very nice examples of joinery in there too, if you're over in Marshall Park, take a look. We also work closely with our technology teachers to ensure we have some tools that need to be installed, one of which is that very nice looking CNC lathe, to make sure that we're putting really quality tools in front of our kids to give them the opportunity for advanced programming. And on the left-hand side is an example of that. That's created by a student who actually went in and created a drawing in a CNC program, programmed the machine, and built that. So our students are really working on not only developing role-ready skills, but they're really working on very high-level CNC programming and machine tools while they're actually taking the technology class. I'm very happy about that. And lastly, from our financial standpoint, we continue to be fiscally responsible, improving our schedule programs on all of our equipment. And we have a lot. We all have 4 very distinct seasons that involve very different equipment. We're really taking a lot of that work in-house this year, over the last year, has really increased our own capacity and, to get us involved to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible with not only our equipment, but our building systems and just our whole preventative maintenance schedule in general. Developing that capacity again kind of circles back into that, developing a sense of team within the department where now we're starting to get to the point where we have leadership, where people within the department are actually beginning to train the next person behind them. So we're developing that kind of next person up model to make sure that we keep the efficiency of the system running smoothly. And lastly, we continue updating equipment just to increase our efficiency and minimize our downtime for emergency repairs. So here are some examples of some things that we've recently procured. So we're taking our oldest truck out of the fleet. It's being replaced with the white F-350 on the left. We recently replaced our oldest zero-turn with a new grade. We're investing in some new floor cleaning machines for our buildings, just again to increase the efficiency, make sure that we're putting the best product out there for our kids. And perhaps most importantly of all, is on the right, is our new compressor for the bus garage. So our old compressor was 28 years old, it was tired, and it was on its last leg, but I'm happy to say we were able to get that replaced to make sure that our transportation department has the tools and facilities they need to get our kids here for us. So lastly, just to close, as the academic year comes to an end, we wanted to take a moment to just thank you all for your support. Mr. Poland, the board, Ms. Bagliati, everyone, for us as a department, we really appreciate the support that allows us to help deliver that mission and make sure that our kids are really prepared and leaving us ready for the next step in life. So thank you for your time. Any questions?
Board members, any comments, questions? Paul?
Ben, you mentioned that you brought a lot of things in-house.
Yes.
Is that like scheduled maintenance also?
Some of it would be scheduled maintenance, yes. Some of it is actually looking to repair, or expedite the repair and replacement of things. So for instance, last year we went into the high school, we had every building identify 5 classrooms that needed attention. It could have been walls, could have been ceiling tile, could have been paint. We hit those 5, we had a lot of the floors last year. So this year we're coming with a much more coordinated attack so that we know we can efficiently move a crew around and we can actually expedite that and go from maybe a 6 to an 8-year rollover to more of a 3 or a 4-year rollover where every single one of our learning environments are being addressed quicker, keep things in better shape. Better shape means less damage and repairs and costs in the long run and less disruption to the educational environment.
Yeah, okay, thanks. You hit on what I was going to ask, which was, at the end of the day, that's going to save us some money because everything's kept in better shape.
Absolutely, 100%. We've got some great projects coming down the pipe this summer as well. We've got some paintwork starting in the gym. We've got the new floor going down with a new logo. We're doing renovation of our wrestling room. It's going to be the project that we're tackling in-house this summer, in addition to the work that's happening with the capital project. So again, it really allows us to expedite that cycle.
Anyone else?
Nothing else from Ben, but I've got some questions for the others.
Pardon?
Nothing else from Ben, but I have some questions to the other directors.
Okay, sure. Just call them out.
Anyone else from Ben?
Yeah.
A dumb question. What is the track made of?
So I just recently learned that our original track that went down back in 2000, I think it was 2001, was like the Cadillac the Rolls-Royce version of tracks that went down. The initial one was actually a laid down complete piece of rubber, which they don't even do that anymore. What they put down over top of it now is what they currently use is a sprayed rubber polymer with like a sand grip inside of it. So when you step on it, it's pretty interesting because it's both has traction, but yet it's a little bit spongy for grip. It's very neat.
And the other events, can we host a track meet next year?
Yes.
Okay. The other events, then the pole vault and the high jump and the steeple and so on like that, are those areas being renovated too?
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
All right, Paul?
Lisa, can you help me? I missed a meeting, it was a baseball thing, I suspect, Informacast. Can you help me out a little bit?
Sure. So Informacast are those speakers in the system that runs the speakers, the software, the clocks, and the speaker system. So right now, that's not at the elementary school.
Thank you. I've experienced it in high school and here, so, okay, thanks. And Rita, I have a question for you. Actually, social emotional, I think we skipped over that slide. Food service, social emotional.
It did.
Want me to put it up?
Yeah.
Please.
This has a mind of its own. Let's see what I mean.
Did you want me to just go over it? And
We just skipped.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So under the social emotional, as you know, with modifying the environment of the cafeteria, at the high school, the walls were painted. We've added out fresh fruit baskets so that way the students can grab their own fresh piece of whole fruit on their own. And then sooner or later, we'll be getting the pictures of the murals back up on the walls so that way it has that more, nice atmosphere. And then also the calendar that we developed for the team building plan to build on with our staff relationships, because the staff in the food service department is in their own separate building every day, they don't get to interact. So we're building, and we've built the calendar in so that way we can do our own little professional development and team building. So where like teachers always get together and have their meetings, I want to get the whole food service department together so that way they're getting to know each other and, building those stronger relationships. And then also we've had the promotion of the share tables in each one of the buildings, which has actually been going really well. And I've been down in elementary and more so, in the middle school, because by the time you get to the high school, those kids, they eat everything on their tray. There is no sharing. But at the middle school and both elementary, I see kids walking out, they put stuff down, another one comes up, he's grabbing or she's grabbing a couple of things. And so it's just been really nice to see that, like, something that they would eat and would go in the garbage, other students are coming back and grabbing it. And then also we celebrated our school lunch hero day, and as you can see in the slides, the gift bags that we gave to the staff, and then also we had shirts made for them. Because since COVID and, not having, they've had their nice new uniforms that we gave them last year, I figured it would be a nice touch to give them shirts, because all the staff has been here together for, almost 2 full years. And so just that nice piece of like unity. And then we also celebrated staff appreciation, where we provided all the staff in the whole district with cupcakes. Any other questions for the board? No, just that? Okay. Anybody?
Does anyone else have a question or anything? Well, all right. Thank you so much for your presentation. I want to thank you for the parents who appreciate the lunches for their kids and breakfast, and don't have to always be concerned about nutrition for their kids. And I want to thank you for the technology that you supply, not only the school, but the parents as well. I know many of them feel very inadequate, and your help is such a great thing to them. And also, I want to thank what you're doing for the grounds and the buildings as far as upkeep and appearance goes. Our taxpayers do appreciate that. We're a conservative society here in these communities, and we're glad that our buildings are being taken care of. And it's we're also glad that we can be proud of our buildings and grounds when visitors come and other teams, and that's so important. So thank you for all you do.
So next, Mr. Barnum's going to give an overview, just to kind of give you an update on the potential amount of money that we're going to add into the reserves this year. And certainly, we can come back to you later in the summer just to give you a better understanding of what actually goes into the reserve. But tonight, he's going to give you the report on reserve funds and the reserve use policy. So I'm going to turn it over to Gary and let him get started.
Thank you, Mr. Pullman. And thank you, Board, for this chance. As you know, this is the annual report on our reserves. It's by policy required that the Board does receive a detailed report of our reserves. And following that report, on the agenda, which you'll accept the report, and following that, you'll approve my recommendations for replenishing our reserves and funding our reserves with our surplus from year end. So tonight I just wanted to, instead of go through the detailed report that each of you have, I wanted to present kind of the overview of our reserves. But I would just encourage you to review that first page on the detailed reserve report, the overview. And there's some really nice quotes in there from the comptroller's office. I think in the past, the comptroller hasn't always made those points in their audit reports to various school districts when they talk about fund balance and reserves. They kind of contradict themselves. So it's nice to have the quotes in there, just talking about the importance of our reserves and the role that they play in our long-range financial planning. So, yeah, I'd like to just, first of all, show you the summary of reserves, an overview. And I want to say, one, we try to be as transparent as possible with our financial information, and in particular because we do have a large amount of reserves. We have 10 different reserve funds, and that makes up the bulk of our fund equity. So we try to be very transparent. We've got, of course, this annual report the detailed written report that the board has. We also, as a reminder, get an update on our reserve balances in our monthly treasurer's report. And if I thought about it earlier, I would have made a slide of that, but I was just thinking about that. And sometimes, I'm not sure how thorough you look at the treasurer's report. But last year we made a few changes. I asked our treasurer to be a little more detailed, especially with cash summary, and then the required monthly, beginning of month, and the activity through the month of receipts and disbursements. And it's the reconciliation from bank to book that assures all of us that our accounting is right up to snuff and timely, right? So here's, you can pass this along, here's the cash summary report. It's the very first report of the treasurer's report. Just so you see that down at the bottom half of that cash summary report, we outline the current balances in all of our reserves. So, so there it is on a monthly basis. We also have it included in our budget process. All of our reserves are detailed in our real property tax report card that goes out to the public. And it's also in our audit reports extensively. And there's the numbers there, the basic financials of the report, and it's also detailed in the footnotes of our audit report, a description of those reserves and the use of those reserves. And then we have our discussion of the audit committee with our auditors about how we made out as we close our books each year and when they present their audit report. So transparency is important, but sometimes we just have to remember where to look for the stuff. Okay, so here we have, just stay on that slide for a second.
Sorry.
Thank you. Here we have kind of a summary of the change of our reserves. Kind of looks like one of my budget reports, right? But it's a side-by-side of last year and where we expect to be in June of this year. And then the change. But the pie chart kind of gives a nice idea of where the bulk of our reserves are and how one reserve balance is relative to all the other reserves. But like I said, with $10 million projected reserves for this year, it's nice to know where they fall, and it helps to guide where we can focus our attention. I do want to say that 5 of the 10 reserves listed here are used to support our general fund budget, help balance our budget. It's part of the planning process for our budget and how we use our reserves annually. And I have a slide at the end to just show us what we did this year in terms of utilizing our reserves in our budget process. And also, just as a reminder, the first 9 reserves listed there are all accounted for in our general fund, and they make up our equity. And then the last reserve, the debt service reserve, that's accounted for in the debt service fund. So all these different funds are accounted and reported annually through our audit report. Okay, I do want to say that the 22-23 balance that's shown there and on the following chart, that's what I'm estimating as of June 30th. We're very close to that amount now, but I am showing an increase. If you take a look at the big increase there, capital building reserve, that's really shows the volatility when you see our reserves going up and down, because larger amounts go into that reserve, what we can from year to year, and then as we did in 21-22, we took the balance of that reserve we had at that time, $3 million, that went to support our current $11 million capital project that really takes care of that local share. So there's no tax burden on our residents for the project, and the rest is building aid. So that's what that reserve is used for, just as a reminder, and I know you all know that, but I am projecting at the end of this year that we'll be around $1.2 million. We're also earning interest, and a lot of those fluctuations in those other reserves have taken into account the interest earnings, and that's a point I wanted to make tonight also, is that unlike just a couple of years ago, interest earnings were near zero. In April, they were at 4.65%. So our treasurer office at the Central Business Office, they're doing a good job of managing our money. And a lot of that money, it all gets prorated. It's a pooled account, pooled investment account, but whatever we earn in interest earnings each month gets prorated to each of the reserves according to their balance and also to our general fund. So it helps support our general fund budget. And if you remember from our budget process, when we looked at revenues, that line went up quite a bit for the 23-24 budget. That's one that can go up and down, as we know. But we're fortunate, on one hand, to have that income coming in now. It helps our cash flow and ultimately our fund balances. The debt service fund balances, the other one with a kind of a larger drop there that you see anticipated. That's because we're pulling, as we budgeted for, $100,000 into the general fund to support that budget. That's really net of anticipated interest, so it's $100,000 coming out of that reserve to support our general fund, plus some interest. So I'm projecting about $93,000 lower. We're in a good position with that debt service fund with that balance at $1.5 million now. So again, the last slide will show you how we're utilizing and actually increasing modestly though the use of that reserve to support our general fund. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is in the last page of your report. I think it's a nice way to show how we're maintaining our reserve funds from year to year. See how those balances are fluctuating, and they've grown from year to year. We're showing a drop next year from anticipated closing this year in our capital reserve fund of 3.5, and then on the 23-24 column, I'm just showing them, and I'm speculating a bit here, but we have talked about, we've been socializing the idea of going back to the voters for our next project, so potentially we could use our capital building reserve money to help support that next project. The timing and the amount of that, we're not sure yet. So again, I'm qualifying the amounts looking forward, but and those are conservative estimates going forward. I wish I had a crystal ball, but I can't predict where we'll be in each of these reserves, but we've got healthy reserves, and our goal is, and it looks like we're going to close this year with maintaining our level of reserves in all of our funds, all of our reserve funds. Okay. Next slide, please. So I just want to give you some highlights here. Again, the reserve funds make up the bulk of our fund equity, and that fund equity is very, very important. And one thing I just wanted to bring up, and I think I may have done this during our budget process before, is just talk about our financial position and how having these reserves really helps our financial position that is reviewed by investors. So we get a bond rating. So next month we're going to go out for borrowing for our new project. It'll be about $8 million borrowing. And financial institutions, banks will bid on that, and they'll look at our bond rating. And ours is an A+ rating, which is very good. We're in a good, healthy position. we're dubbed as a low-risk category. And also what that does when we, and hopefully it will be a nice competitive bid process, I'm sure it will be. And that's handled, by the way, by fiscal advisors who came to talk to us. They coordinate that whole thing, and then we work with our bond attorney to close out that deal. And Ms. Collier, we're setting up a date. I think we have the 17th.
I've got to confirm it with Cindy, yes.
Shooting for to close out on that, on anticipation of closing. But, so those institutions will take a look at our financial position and say, hey, we're a good place to, issue bonds to. And it's a competitive bid process, and we look at what the net interest cost will be for that borrowing, and that's what gets the bid. That's who's going to lend us the money. So I just want to mention that. And the capital reserve that we established at the end of last year, we had spent the $3 million to cover that $11 million project. At that point, took the reserve down to zero, and then we closed the end of the year last year, and we were able to refund this new reserve with about $2.25 million. And like I said earlier, I'm hoping we'll be able to add to that for future building projects this year, hopefully another 1.2 plus million. So don't quote me on that because we should be pretty close, but I try to be conservative. But there's a lot of factors that go into classification of reserves. So we'll see where we end up at the end of the year after the auditors come in. But we will have a nice share to put into the capital reserve. So that reserve, just to remind you, had a 10-year lifespan that we created last year, and has a $15 million cap. The other thing that we just did this year was to establish a new bus reserve. Both reserves had to be established, actually a little bit before the life of these reserves ran out. It's just because we ran out of funding, so they were capped at a certain level. So with both the capital reserve last year and the bus reserve this year that we authorized, we hope that the cap is plenty large enough for us to fund during the life of the reserve. So we had, again, $15 million on the capital reserve and $6 million cap for this bus reserve, which has a 5-year life before we have to go back to the review voters and establish yet another. Okay, so, and then the reserves help to balance the budget. That's how I'd like to close with this next slide. Just as a reminder, because you saw this slide during our budget process, but this was how we're utilizing those 5 of the 10 reserves to help balance our budget. And this is how we just shift up a little bit more reliance on debt service reserve. Remember, that's at about 1.6 million $1.6 million right now. So we're being pretty modest with that. I don't want to use too much of that reserve in any given year because it actually affects our tax cap. They look at the amount of reserve that we use from the debt service from year to year. So that's just kind of a modest increase. We're decreasing our reliance on the ERS reserve, mostly because I want to shift more reliance to the TRS. It's a much larger expense for our books, but in 22-23, we didn't even have that much expense on our books in the general fund, so we couldn't have even used all the 425. So that reliance on the ERS reserve did come down for next year. Then we use a little, plan on a little bit for unemployment and our employment liability reserve. That's basically payments for sick time. Okay, that concludes the presentation. Do you have any questions? I do have to point out one thing on reserve report itself. I noticed today an error and have given Tina the corrections for the record. So on the bus reserve, in the discussion part down at the bottom, I had mentioned the establishment was on May 16th, but I had the old year on here, 22, so we'll change that to 23. And for bus purchases, it said 22, 23, that should be 23, 24. I'll make those corrections. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, Gary, just in the write-up that we got, the big write-up, not the abbreviated version, but there's always an ideal amount or percentage.
Right.
Where does that ideal come from? Do we establish that, or does it come from
It's
the
established in
council?
our board policy.
Okay.
Yep, those are the 5 things for each reserve. I have that written down right here too. I was going to say that, but all come from our board policy. So that is, for each reserve, we got the purpose, the use of those reserves. We ask for a 3-year history, so most of that has that or better. And what the ideal balance is, and then a discussion point, which is probably the most useful thing.
Okay, thanks. Does that line up with the state? Do we have any guidance? Does our board have any guidance on what those ideals should be?
Each of the reserves has legal requirements, and so they are outlined pretty much in that report what those requirements are, written the purpose.
Yeah, okay.
So, but the report itself, I don't believe the comptroller's office says you have to say these 5 points, but we have it in our policy.
Right, okay.
And it's really nice. I think I modified this report just a little bit last year when I presented for the first time, but it's really a well laid out report, and I just try to make it a little bit easier to read, that's all.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
Anyone else?
Just one thing.
Jason?
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate the presentation. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe a couple of years ago we increased the annual appropriation for the liability reserves because somebody recommended that our balances were a little shy of where it should be. Was that an ongoing increase? I don't remember. If you don't know right now, you don't have to tell me.
What I think I know about that is that the ideal balance on that is about 3% of our budget. And we're almost at that limit now. So 3% is just over $1 million of our budget. We're at 900, what was that reserve? 940 or 980 something?
994 for 22.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do.
I wasn't including the interest earnings.
Anyone else? Thank you, Gary. Reserves are an extremely important part of the school budget process.
All right, so I'm going to be brief. It's a busy time of year, but it's a great time of year to celebrate so many of our student accomplishments. So, I know the board likes to be active and involved, and in many cases, you are all often at the same places that many of us are. So just for our community, we had a great celebration here at Leavenworth Middle School on Monday night where we introduced 25 middle school students into the National Junior Honor Society. So what a great accomplishment for our students from middle school. The reception was fantastic. The presentations and the goals that the students have set forth are really quite remarkable and heading in the right direction. And I think Mr. Tubolino is really committed to making sure that service component as part of the National Junior Honor Society really starts to become front and center for everything they do. Tuesday night, the high school athletic awards ceremony honored so many of our student athletes from fall, winter, and spring. And this really was more of a piggyback on top of everything that had happened at the end of the fall and winter season. And then certainly, this coincides with the conclusion of the spring season. So Several of our student athletes won some pretty prestigious awards and honored some very long-standing traditions here in North Rose-Wolcott. Mr. Blankenberg is actually hosting the middle school athletic awards this evening. For parking purposes, we flip-flop. They're over at the high school just due to the capacity of the auditorium there. So he's continued to do a fantastic job, and he's done a remarkable thing about making sure that we, again, extend our opportunities and evolve partnerships. And many of our local town supervisors were present to, read proclamations and recognize our student athletes. And I think that's something, again, for our home community to be very proud of with respect to the countywide recognition that our student athletes are receiving. And lastly, tonight is part 2 of our Wayne Tech and Career Center completion ceremony. There's so many students involved in the career and technical education pathway right now that, believe it or not, Wayne Technical and Career Center is actually the largest high school in the county if you were to count up the number of students that are participating in the trades programs and the New Visions program. And I know Andy McVeigh, the principal up there, has really talked about branching out. He's in the picture there with Samaja, Dr. Ramos. Andy's the principal and does a fantastic job. But I believe that their capacity for juniors and seniors, again, has them ranked as the largest high school. I believe there are over 700 students participating in the career and tech ed program, juniors and seniors. In the middle, you'll see Gilbert hugging Mr. Palladino. So yeah, Samaja, they're receiving from education professions. Gilbert's is part of the advanced manufacturing program. And then Noah Wazinski's with John Irwin as part of the conservation program. And one of the things that I really was impressed with last night is that the North Rose-Wolcott students for last night's ceremony were really well represented in the National Technical Honor Society. And I actually had a father come up to me afterward and say, wow, we have a lot of students that are recognized as part of the National Technical Honor Society. So it just speaks to the volume and the effort of our student body. When they go there, they're really taking that investment to a whole new level. And there are a few of them that are going on to college to pursue higher education. There are a few of them who are already gainfully employed, and there are a few of them who are sorting out their options. But I thought that this is a great way for all of you to see, at the end of the year, so many of our students being recognized in so many different arenas, that this is just a great thing to celebrate. And as many of the people have said, thank you all for your continued support of our career and technical education programs. So tonight, our New Vision students were participating in their completion ceremony, and there's a lot to be said. So, and so much so that they had to break it into 4 parts. So quite impressive ceremony. I'll take any questions, or we'll keep moving on, because I know we have a busy agenda. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to reports. Policy Committee, do you have anything, Paul, that you want to present from your committee on these policies that are on our agenda tonight?
Yeah, just a couple quick notes on 8320. So selection of library and multimedia materials. Just on the copy that you got, there's a couple of typos. I promise you those will be corrected for the second reading. And then patriotism, citizenship, and human rights. We're not eliminating that from our school, okay? We're recommending we delete the policy though, because first of all, we're very involved. And the second thing is it's all required by the state. So it's just a redundant of most state requirements, okay? Again, I want to assure the board and all of our community, we're not deleting patriotism, okay? Thanks.
Okay. Any questions for policy? All right, thank you. Moving on. Tina, do we have anyone for public access?
No.
All right. Motion then, moving on to the consent agenda. A motion please to approve the consent agenda. Linda and Shelley. The consent agenda goes through page 5. Any discussion, questions? I know you've all had time to peruse this before tonight's meeting. All right, in that case, all in favor of approving the consent agenda? The motion is carried. Moving on to page 5. Number 6, policies. A motion please to approve the policies presented for the second read. Paul? Tina? Discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Number 7, there's multiple roll call votes here. A motion please to approve item number 1, which is appropriation contingent expense and emergency capital project. Motion? Jason and Paul. Discussion? Questions? All in favor of approving this? Oh, roll call. Excuse me.
Cinda,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Shelley,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried.
Motion is carried. Number 2, a motion please to approve program appointments. John and Tina, any discussion or questions? Roll call.
Cinda,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Shelley,
Abstain.
Linda,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Number 3, page 8. A motion please to approve the resolution on aquatics program. Jason? Paul? Discussion? Questions? Roll call?
Cinda,
Yes?
Jason,
Yes.
John,
Abstain.
Shelley,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Tina,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried.
Motion is carried. And now we move to the green sheet that we added to the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. A motion please to approve the number 1 item, deputy claims auditor payment. Russell Harris, motion please. Linda. And second, Paul. Discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, that completes the business part. Do any board members have any requests, comments, or discussion they'd like to bring forward tonight?
I don't have a discussion, I just wanted to let everyone know that I left them a couple documents at their desk that I'd like to discuss at a future board meeting. It just gives them something to read prior to that discussion on school culture and final surveys. So,
All right,
that's all I have.
thank you. Do we have good news? We've had an awful lot of good news with all of the award ceremonies that we've been to and with our students. Is there anything anyone wants to add to those? Paul?
Yeah, I still want to add, I agree with you, there's a lot of good news. Just to quickly, Brooklyn Buckman was the Rotary Club People Student of the Month in high school. And then we had a competition, actually it was Red Creek and North Rose-Wolcott in a Tech Awards competition. We had 6 of our students in the top 3. And I quickly read the names: Marcus Hafner, Chen Winter, Sean Mahoney, Tyler DiPolato, and Parlor Baby, and Dalton Hoteling. among the top three. And I think Mr. Blankenberg mentioned it last time, but I think it's worthy of just an applause, really. We have 21 athletic teams throughout the last three seasons for this year. 19 of the 21 were scholar athlete teams. That's an average of 90 or higher for the entire team. I think that's awesome.
All right, thank you, Paul.
One of the teams had 96 point something as their entire team. That was very impressive.
All right, anyone else? John?
Did we mention Memorial Day?
No?
Well, that was, one of the first years after COVID, the kids were really glad to get out. The teachers were, the community members that I was standing with, they were really thrilled that our kids could be out and about. It was really well done. It was all planned. It was, talking about patriotism. It's small town America. That's all you have to say about it.
And you're speaking of the elementary school?
Yes, and North Rose East.
Yes. It's indeed very nice.
Yes? One more, please. From the Legion. It was at a recent American Legion meeting, and all of our membership was delighted that we had the band for the parade.
I think it should be said too that the tribute to Mrs. Collier for having the planning so well done years and years ago. It's a traditional thing that's a good community.
Thank you, Jack. It's always been a real honor to do that. And it was also mentioning Memorial Day. Our superintendent, Mr. Pullen, was present at the Rose, the Town of Rose Memorial Day program service. And he, on behalf of the school district, presented a wreath at our flagpole along with other local associations. So thank you, Mr. Pullen, for doing that. Anything else? Then at this time, I will need a motion to go into executive session for the board to discuss a legal matter. Linda? John? Discussion? All in favor of executive session? The motion is clear. We will be adjourning from this room, and we will not be doing any further business this evening. We will simply adjourn the meeting after the executive session. So don't feel you're going to miss anything if you leave us. So thank you for attending.